In this video, we will try to understand what is the use of BCS. Now, BCS stands for Business Connectivity Services. In 2007, this BCS was called as BDC, that is Business Data Catalog. So what we'll do is, we'll first try to understand why do we need BCS? What is the scenario for which we want this BCS facility? The main purpose of BCS, that is Business Connectivity Services, is to collaborate with external data. Now the next thing you'll ask me is that we already have talked about two things which helps us to collaborate external data inside SharePoint, or which helps us to bring external data inside SharePoint. One is we talked about the SharePoint object model, where you can go and upload a web part, and the web part can make a call to SharePoint object model, and the SharePoint object model can make a call to your list to insert, update and delete data. The second we talked about was REST services, by which we expose the REST services, and the external clients can make call to the REST services and transfer data. So why now this extra thing called as BCS to collaborate with external data again? Now both of these methodologies, that is SharePoint object model and REST, are push technologies. Push means if your external client does not make a REST call, then no data will come inside the SharePoint list. If the web part doesn't make a call to SharePoint object model, nothing can come inside SharePoint. While BCS is a pull technology. In other words, the SharePoint will go himself proactively and pull data from SQL Server. So BCS you will use when you want SharePoint to go and fetch data from some external entity like SQL Server or WCF services, or or from any kind of .NET types. So if you want to use the push technologies, where the external client is capable of making REST services call, or capable of calling a SharePoint object model, then go with these two things, that is SOM and REST. But if you want SharePoint to go and pull data, then you need to use BCS, that is Business Connectivity Services. Currently, BCS can fetch data from three different kind of sources. One is from SQL Server, second one is from WCF services, and third one is from .NET types. Now what we'll do is we'll do a simple practical of connecting SharePoint to SQL Server using Business Connectivity Services. Now in order that SharePoint goes and fetches data from these data sources, the first thing SharePoint needs to understand is what is the structure of the external storage. Where is the external storage located? So in other words, it needs to have some kind of metadata which will help him to understand how the external storage looks like. And for that, SharePoint uses something called as ECT. ECT means external content type. External content type is nothing but you can think about it's a metadata which talks about where is this external data source currently located. So it talks about location, it talks about structure of the data source, it talks about mapping. Mapping means how we can map the external fields of the storage to the internal fields of the list in SharePoint. So the first step to connect to external data sources using BCS is to define ECT. So what we'll do is, let's do a small practical here. Let's go and create a simple table in SQL Server. Let's go and define a ECT for that table, and then let's create a simple list in SharePoint which will actually go and display data from SQL Server. And then what we'll do is we'll go and try modifying and adding to the list, and we'll see that if that data goes and updates SQL Server. In the same way, we'll go and modify data in SQL Server, and then we would like to see if it goes and modifies, or if it goes and refreshes the same in the list of SharePoint. So let's do a small demonstration here of connecting SharePoint via BCS to SQL Server. So we will do the following demonstration. We can see that I have a simple database here called as customer, which has a simple table called as TBL sales. Okay, and if you see, like in this TBL sales, currently I have two records. One is the shoes and shirts. We would like to display this table inside our SharePoint portal here. Currently I've just taken the same portal, Quest HR. I do understand that it doesn't make sense to display a sales table on a Quest HR portal, but just for the for the demonstrative purpose, I have just taken the same portal what we have. So we would like to display this TBL sales table inside our SharePoint portal, that is Quest HR. So the first step is, as we said previously, we have to go and create a ECT which will expose this structure out or expose this metadata out to our SharePoint portal. So in order to create the ECT, right, we will use the SharePoint designer. Now there are a lot of ways by which you can create ECT, but let's for now just stick to our standard way, that is by using the SharePoint designer. And here's my Quest HR portal. So let me first go and connect to this Quest HR portal. Let me just put the credentials here. So connecting to my Quest HR portal. So there we are connected. Now I can see at the left hand side, you can see one tab here called as external content type. So let's click on this external content type. In order to create a new ECT, click on this tab here, external content type, and let's give a name here saying sales ECT. We'll say display name as sales ECT, same as it is. And you can see now here we have one link saying click here to discover external data sources and to define operations. So click on this link and go and add a connection. Now the time you go and add a connection, you can see that it's popping up saying that what kind of data source it is. And as we said previously, when we were trying to explain the theory of business connectivity services, that you can connect to three kind of data sources. One is any kind of .NET type. Second one is your RDBMS SQL Server, and third one is WCF services. So currently we are more interested in SQL Server. So let's click SQL Server and let's press OK. So it's now asking for the credentials by which we want to connect to SQL Server. So the first thing is the server name where your SQL Server is located. So let me just go and copy this server name from here, copy and paste it here. Second is the database name. Our database is customer. So let's go and enter customer here. Third one, the name, I'll say sales. I'll say customer. I'll keep it as it is. And connect with the current user's identity. Say OK. So there's our database registered, and our interest is this TBL sales table. Now, we also need to define, in this ECT, that what kind of operations we are capable to do, or we should be allowed to do on the external source. For example, from the SharePoint, do we want just to go and do insert, update, or do we want to only go and read data? So what kind of operations are allowed on this ECT? So let's go right click and say that yes, currently we are interested in all the operations. So I'm going to just click on create all the operations. It then pops up a wizard stating that define the input parameters for this operation. So yes, I'm interested in the sales table. So just map this out. I'm interested in the sales amount also. Let me map this out, and I'm also interested in this product. Okay. And I'm going to say next, and I'm going to say finish. So once I do that, right now we have a ECT defined, which actually points to the TBL sales table, and we are allowed to do create, read, delete, and any kind of operation on this TBL sales table. So let me just go and save this ECT. So you can see that down now the external content type is getting saved inside our BDC metadata store. So there's our sales ECT external content type created. Now the next step is we need to now go to the SharePoint portal, connect to this ECT, and then fetch data from SQL Server. Right. So let's do the next step. So let's go to our portal. So now let's go and create a simple list here, and this list should go and connect to this ECT. Right. So let's go and create a simple list. Now this list will be different from the normal list which we have created till now. This list will be a external list. Okay, because it's going to connect to the external content type. And let's hit create, and let's give a nice name here saying sales table, sales data. Okay, this data is fetched from sales table, and let's go and pick up the ECT to which we want this list to connect. So we have this ECT here, sales ECT, and let's say create. Now we can see that there is an error here saying that you cannot access this this BDC, this business data connectivity, and that is absolutely right, because we have yet not defined that who are the users who can access the ECT, right? So for that let's go to our SharePoint administration portal. So let me just quickly go here to my SharePoint central administration, and let me go and put the user ID and password. And over here you can see there is something called as the managed service application. So click on managed service application, and you can see that here's a link to the service saying business data connectivity service. So click on this link, and now go and select your your sales ECT, and let's go and set permissions to this sales ECT. So click on set permissions, and we'll say that we would like administrators to access this ECT, because currently my SharePoint is authenticated by using the administrator credential. So I'd like to go and add the administrator. So it's now added, and I'll say that the administrator has rights to go and edit, execute, and select and set permissions onto the ECT. So let me do OK now. So now we have configured our ECT with the appropriate permissions. Now let's go back again and let's click on sales data. Access denied still. Let me again just re-click. Oh, that is working. Basically must be it was taking some time to apply the appropriate changes what I've done from the admin. Right. So now you can see over here the SQL Server data which is displayed here has been now displayed onto your SharePoint portal as a normal list. And if you go and edit records over here, for example, let me just go and edit some records, and let's see that if these records are reflected onto the SharePoint portal. So let me just go and edit the sales table, and let me change this shirts to pants. Right. And now let me go back over here and let me click on sales data. So you can see now as soon as I have changed the data here, even the same data has been reflected here. So the shirts data has now been changed to pants. In the same way, if I go and edit a record over here, the same will be reflected onto my SQL Server. So for example, if I go and let's say I go and delete this item, right? It's deleting. And now if I go to my SQL Server and if I do a refresh here, you can see that it has deleted the data from here also. So by using business BDC, right, you have a two-way mode. In other words, you update the storage over there, it will get updated into your SharePoint portal, and in the same way if you do actions on the SharePoint portal, it will actually get updated onto the SQL Server. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video. So in this video we saw that how we can use BCS to connect to external data and transfer data to and fro. So what we did is, first thing is we went ahead and we created a ECT. We gave the appropriate permission to the ECT, and then we went to the SharePoint into our SharePoint, and we created an external list which will go and connect to this ECT. And then whenever we update data over here, it's propagated to the data source, and when we go and change data on the data source, the same is reflected onto your SharePoint site. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you now understand that why we need BCS and the importance of BCS. Thank you very much.